In the heart of a vast savanna, there was a village called Majimoto. This village was known for its great Baobab tree, a tree so ancient its roots were said to touch the spirit world. The villagers revered the tree, believing it was a link to their ancestors and a protector of their land. But one year, a cruel drought swept through the land. The river dried up, the fields turned to dust, and the villagers' once prosperous lives were reduced to endless days of struggle. The cattle weakened, and even the baobab seemed to stand in mourning, its great canopy providing shade but no answers. Kesia, a young girl in the village, had always been curious. While others accepted the hardships as the will of the gods, Kesia wanted to understand why. She spent her days asking endless questions, much to the amusement of the villagers. Why do the stars twinkle? She'd ask the elders. Why does the river sing at night? Most of the time, they would brush her off, saying, "That girl's head is always in the clouds." But as the drought worsened, Kesia grew quiet. She noticed the cracks spreading through the soil like the veins of a tired elder. She saw her father, once strong and full of laughter, sitting for hours by the dry fields, his spirit worn thin. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky turned the color of embers, Kesia overheard a meeting between the chief and the elders. "We will not last much longer," the chief said, his voice heavy with despair. "The land is barren. The river is gone. Even the cattle are beginning to fall." The elders nodded grimly. "Perhaps the gods have turned away from us." Kesia's heart ached. She wanted to help, but what could a child do? That night, under a sky strewn with countless stars, Kesia wandered to the great baobab tree. The moonlight cast long shadows on the ground, and the whispers of the night winds carried with them a haunting stillness. The tree, standing proud and ancient, seemed to hum with a quiet energy, its gnarled branches stretching like the arms of an elder offering silent solace. Kesia approached it slowly, her bare feet brushing against the dry, cracked earth. The baobab had always been a source of comfort, a silent witness to the joys and struggles of the village. Now, standing beneath its immense canopy, Kesia felt both small and strangely hopeful. She placed her palm on its rough bark, the ridges cool and steady under her trembling fingers. "Baobab," she whispered, her voice cracking with emotion. "If you are as wise as they say, why do you stay silent when we are suffering? Have you not seen our tears? Heard our prayers?" Her words were carried off by the wind, swallowed by the vastness of the night. For a moment, the only sound was the rustling of dry leaves overhead, a faint and mournful tune. Kesia's shoulders slumped, and a tear slipped down her cheek. "I know you hear me," she continued, her voice soft but insistent. "Do you not care for us anymore? Have we done something to anger the gods?" She sank to her knees, leaning her forehead against the tree's trunk. The bark's coarse surface pressed against her skin, grounding her as her tears fell freely. Above, the stars shimmered, and the tree stood as silent as the heavens. Just as Kesia was about to give up, the air around her shifted. A faint tremor ran through the ground, and the wind hushed as though the world was holding its breath. Then, deep and resonant like the echo of a drum, the baobab spoke. "Child, your heart is full of questions, but also full of love. It is this love that can save your people." Kesia sat up, her eyes wide with wonder. "How? Tell me what to do." And so, the baobab told her of the spirit of Christmas, a time of giving, unity, and sacrifice. It revealed that the villagers had forgotten this spirit, consumed by fear and despair. The tree gave Kesia the task of gathering the people on Christmas Eve, promising that together they could find the way to restore their land. Kesia's feet hardly touched the ground as she raced back to the village, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and fear. Would the villagers listen to her? Could the Baobab really help them? She had no answers, but she clung to hope like a lantern in the dark. The next day, Kesia stood in the center of the village, her voice ringing out like a bell. "The Baobab has spoken," she declared. "It has a message for us, but we must gather on Christmas Eve to hear it." At first, the villagers were skeptical. Many dismissed her as a child with fanciful ideas. But Kesia's determination was unwavering. She visited each household, pleading with them to come. Slowly, one by one, the villagers agreed, their curiosity piqued by her passion. When Christmas Eve arrived, the village gathered beneath the Baobab. The tree stood tall and silent, its branches stretching toward the starry sky. The air was heavy with anticipation. Kesia stepped forward, holding a small bundle of dried flowers, her most precious possession. "The Baobab said we have forgotten the spirit of Christmas," she began. "It told me that we must give, not take, if we want to heal the land." She placed her flowers at the base of the tree. "This is my offering." Her act of faith inspired others. The elder placed his prayer beads beside the flowers, whispering a blessing. A mother, with tears in her eyes, offered her last bowl of millet despite her children's hungry cries. One by one, the villagers came forward, each laying something of value before the tree. As the final offering was placed, a deep rumble came from the Baobab. Its branches glowed with a warm, golden light that spread outward, illuminating the village. The cracks in the ground began to close, the riverbeds filled with water, and the fields turned green once more. The villagers fell to their knees in awe. The Baobab's voice resonated through the air, "You have remembered the spirit of Christmas. Love, sacrifice, and unity will always bring life to the land." From that day on, the village of Majimoto celebrated Christmas as a time of gratitude and giving. The Baobab became a symbol of hope and resilience, and Kesia's name was spoken with reverence for generations to come. And so, under the shade of the ancient Baobab, the villagers thrived, forever reminded that even in the harshest droughts, the spirit of love could bring forth an endless harvest.